was so many results over the past few weekends, and there's just been so many events around the world. Let's cover all the results here and now. Starting off with WGP Season 4 China, there is a bunch of decks that are super relevant in the metagame at the moment. As you can see from this pie chart, literally anything is viable at the moment, which is great, right? So the top 4 placed, first was Leverdress, second was Black, third placing was Luard, and fourth being Blangmire. Pretty, expected decks to, I guess, see in the top cut. And, this is pretty much how it translates all over the WGP side. And, Leverdress, the best deck in the format at the moment. Jumping to Season 4 WGP in Singapore that happened over the last weekend, I think it was Sunday. 2 Love won a bunch of everything else, and that JHEVA is pretty wild to me. And first place was Daryl taking Love. Second was Virena with Nirvana JHEVA. That's wild to me. Wayne coming third with Varga, and then 984 Smurf, so Mervin coming fourth place with Night Rose. We will look at the Virena deck, so just in a sec. But my goodness, let's just take a look at the Night Rose deck. I think Night Rose, a lot of people have discounted the deck. I think it's still a good meta choice to bring to these events, and as you can see, it translates well. This deck plays pretty much a bunch of stuff. So you still have your 1/1 order package. You still have your Negros, your Enlargulf. You play the 5k Blitz order to essentially defend yourself against Shojudoji, Ghost Chase to bounce your PGs, have your PGs to essentially guard for the hostage effect, and then you play the 1 Tayfault promo, which is pretty cool too. But yeah, that's Night Rose. Let me grab the deck code for Virena 2M1B6, because this list was wild. I was watching the whole stream over the weekend and even the playback, but big shout out to this Virena player. All my respect goes to you. Ride and die with Virena, right? But the more I think about it, right, the more it kind of makes sense. So if your environment's full of Virena, full of Leverdress, Virena is a good pick, right? Because one of your, I think it was this one blows up all of your markers, right? So this Virena just shuts down all Infinity Eyes markers, and your opponent just can't generate advantage, right? Your numbers are big, 5 attack deck, it's pretty good, right? Otherwise you just place down stuff, bash, you get your units back for free practically, and then you just launch 5 attacks again. So you have really good early game, a way to follow up, and if your opponent's playing Leverdress, then God bless them, because they're losing, right? So yeah, very cool Virena list. Jumping to WGP Season 4 in Malaysia, so 4 people in the top 16 brought Leverdress, 3 with Varga, 2 with Razel, and then a bunch of everything else. Then cutting it to the top 8, so majority of the Leverdress made it to the top 8 cut, so 3 Leverdress. And then if you look at the top 4, so first place was taken by Luard, second was Mariyuan with Leverdress, third was Leverdress as well, and then fourth was Love. So just taking a look at Marta's deck, pretty straightforward. I like the 3 grade 3s instead of the 4. I think a lot of people play the 4. The one cool thing about this deck is the Habitat. The Habitat serves as a 5th copy of every other card. Your 4th Huli, your 4th Saphira, which is pretty cool. Your 4th Foxhole. I don't know if 3 Foxhole's great. I think playing 4, just being able to see it is great, but I guess you have further decks digging if you're playing the Misty Arc Habitat. So, very selective on when you choose to use the habitats, right? Then jumping to Peru, so this is the next set of BCS results. So 2 Michus in the top 8, which is pretty wild. And then, where's the Shojudoji? There's only 1 there. And actually, looking at the top 4, first was taken by Prism, which was completely unexpected. Second was Michu, third was Varga, and fourth was Youthberg. So not a single Shojudoji. I guess Peru is one of the smaller BCSs, so a lot of players tend to play their local favorites, your fan favorites, and it converts well, right? So just taking a look at the Prism deck, you play your 4 cyclers, so your Valshablan and your Presea, right? Presea. And then you have your Prism Engine, your Prism Searchers, and then you play a 2-2 split of Aura and the 13k body. You play Bracing Angel ladder because it's really good into Shiranui, and then you also play this order that essentially gives all your units +5, making your early game much better. So yeah, very cool list. Then looking at the Michu list, this is as stock standard as it gets. I'm not too sure about the Bracing Angel ladder. I think the Bracing Angel ladder kind of conflicts with all your other orders if you're trying to cycle through your deck. But otherwise, you know, you play 4 of the grade 3, 4 Nokono, 3 of the grade 1 Nokono because it's less relevant. It just dies, it comes back. 3 Yuikas, 4 Immigrant Clone, 4 of the Countercharger. You know, perfect deck really. So yeah, that's Michu. And then there was a Youthberg as well. This guy is cooking, playing 1 of the Guard District, playing 2 Tempest, 1 of Gust and Zest. And then the 1 Biscotti, you know, all your consistency cards like your grade 2 and your grade 1 to essentially find your Revolve Forms, 4 Sequanas, and Bracing Angel ladder. Playing red OT as well. I think being a bit more offensive in this meta game is, you know, how should I say, beneficial to you, yeah? Then jumping to BCS Duluth. So Duluth had top 32, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, top 32, a lot of them were Shoryuji and Leonon. And then if you look more at the pie chart for the top 16, a lot of the Leonons converted, a lot of the Shoujos and the Blank Mayas converted. Then looking at the top 8, pretty much 75% of the pie chart is Leonon and Shoujo Doji. 1 Varga, 1 Fennel, and Varga took it all, which is wild. Coming second was Leonon. Third was Fennel, and not a single Shoujo Doji qualified in the top 3, which is crazy. And then fourth, Naru Samurai with Shoujo Doji. So obviously the outlier deck is Fennel. I think this deck, if it rolls first, it just beats every deck. I think it's very aggressive. Playing red OT, even more aggressive. And you know, that's just what the deck does, right? You play your orders, you get Stragar, build a board, just bash, and your opponent's just dead, right? So yeah, Fennel, very offensive deck, and you know, it might just be a good pick if you know you're really good at the dice roll and you go first, right? Then top 32 Duluth for premium. A lot of players bought Neonectar, a lot of players bought Mega Colony as well, and Nubatama. Pretty self-explanatory. Actually, the one thing to talk about is like Night Rose was only at 1, so Grand Blue was only at 1, which is pretty crazy. I think a lot of people liked Grand Blue, so really odd to see that. Not a lot of the Katrinas converted, but all of the Mega Colonies did, which is, well, most of the Mega Colonies did. There were 2 DPs as well, which is pretty cool. Then the top 8, 2 of the 3 Mega Colonies in top 16 made it, and then a bunch of 1 of everything else. Angel Gizeh, pretty cool deck too. And then the first to fourth, so first was taken by Levi, playing Katrina. Second was Will Payne with DP. Big shout out to this player. I saw the deck. We're gonna take a look at it in a sec. Very cool. Third was David Smart, one of the strongest players in the NA region, playing Chris Nui. And then fourth was Chaos Breaker. So taking a look at the DP deck, they played the Archite grade 3. Essentially, it is unkillable. But otherwise, I don't think the first effect really matters because you don't have an Archite Vanguard, but it's the second effect that just stops your opponent from retiring it, essentially. Then you also play the Dual Nation. Being able to have a bit of early game is great. You don't really use the CP for anything else, and everything else is kind of the same as your standard DP list. And then you play 1 of the new Heal Guardian grade 1, which is, yeah, pretty cool. Radiance, Caliburn, Countercharge, draw 2, always good, right? But otherwise, everything else is kind of self-explanatory for your Dialiner deck. Then jumping to WGP Season 2 Nagoya, this had double block. Block A brought a bunch of Raziel. I think only 4 teams didn't bring Raziel. Then looking at the top 4 teams, first place team brought double Raziel with a leather dress. Second was Varga, Raziel, and Liel. Third was Leonon, Night Rose, and Doji. Fourth was Raziel, Luard, and Liel. Pretty cool, right? Then if you look at the Block B, again, Raziel taking big spots, leather dress taking big spots. I think these 2 are like pretty dominant in a teams format, so wonder how that will translate into next year's BSF. And then first place team was Riku's team, taking Liel, Leverdress, and Raziel. Second was Varga, Love, and Blankmeyer. Third was Raziel, Prison, and Leverdress. And then the fourth place team playing pretty wild with Messiah, Kyrie, and Love. So yeah, lots of very cool team lists. Wonder how that will translate into Springfest. Then we also had a WGP Season 3 for Taiwan. So 2 Raziel, 2 Blankmeyer, 1 of everything else. Then, whoops. Then the top 4 was taken by Love, second with Blankmeyer, third as Leverdress, and fourth is Prison. So yeah, very cool to see. And then we actually had a premium event that happened in Japan. So I think there's a lot of like diversity cut stuff. So you'll see like one of a bunch of decks here in the top 16. I think the event was won by Katrina, second was Katrina, third was Genesis, and fourth was Aquaforce. So just looking at some of the decks, specifically this Genesis one, I think it's one of Different Fights Friends. Pretty interesting list. It opts to play slow, don't hit the OT, soul charge the OT, use Valencia to put the OT to the bottom, go into Amaruda, put 3 crits on a rear guard that essentially restands if your opponent can't guard with Sentinels. It's pretty gross, right? So yeah, that is a way to win, I guess, because you know, Amaruda gives 1 crit, Force 2 gives a crit, the base crit is 3, if you check another crit it's 4, so yeah, pretty gross. So yeah, very cool deck, very cool innovation, I guess. Then looking at the Harry deck, Crest Harry is now a thing. Lots of grade 3s in those slots though. Going slim on some of the other lines like Purple Trapezes. Even having the Cat and Knight boots. Bracing Angel Ladder is good. Playing Rainbow Triggers with the Purple OT. Yeah, quite an interesting deck. I think there's a lot of, I guess, grounds to work on this deck, right? Then we have the Night Rose deck. This plays Crest. Very similar to Kelvin Gillini's WCC VGCS deck, playing Crest, playing Full Riveting Shade, and then just your traditional Night Rose deck, except it doesn't play Stoichia OT, it plays Purple OT. Yeah, pretty cool. Then the last deck to look at is the Aquaforce deck that came 4th. 2-2 split on Davis, 1-1 of the Ripple Legion to be able to ripple to Legion stuff back. The one thing I find with this deck is that it doesn't have a finisher yet, but even then, you know, it's still a really good aggressive deck in the early game, right? Otherwise, G-Zone's kind of the same. You can kind of kill them on Ballerina if you have a lot of hand. You can go into Valios to lock your opponent's power. You know, there's a lot of ways you can win, but this deck I think dies really hard if your opponent drops a Honolly, which essentially the top 2 did, which is Katrina. So obviously this deck has a really hard time into that. So yeah, that's pretty much all the results that we have over this weekend. There was a bunch of results all across the world, and there'll probably be a lot this week. I think there's like BCS in Jakarta, BCS in Europe somewhere. There's also one in Asia. There's just a lot of events going on. So, you know, stay tuned, stay on this channel because I'll cover it all for you guys, and, you know, just kind of seeing how things develop, right? If you guys liked the video, pop a like, comment down below what you guys think of all the results that happened over the past few weekends. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.